So watching biological men dominating real women in sports is moving America's opinion to defend biological women and Title IX. This is a losing issue for Democrats because America fully agrees we have to protect women's sports.
But I want to dive a little bit more deeply into why this issue, targeting trans women in sports, is particularly problematic, not just for trans girls, but for all of us. We're here today because there's a proposal here, and there are several proposals here, to further marginalize trans women in sports. And I think about this all the time because trans people in the United States doesn't even exceed 1% of our population, and yet there is so many resources and energy and time dedicated to figuring out how we can more finely exclude them from our sports. And I thought, why so much effort and dedication on such a tiny portion of the U.S. population when there virtually is no major issue that is precipitating?
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. We just watched a heated congressional hearing where representatives clashed over transgender athletes in women's sports. And folks, this highlights everything wrong with where we are as a nation. Let me break down what really happened here and why this matters to every American who cares about fairness. If you believe in protecting women's sports and standing up for common sense, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe, because we're diving into a crucial debate that affects the future of fair competition in America.
Guys, is the gentleman. I can't believe we're here, though. I can't believe we're holding a hearing today. As a matter of fact, I can't believe many things. Today, we have something called gender-affirming care in our country, which is really cutting off the body parts of people in order to make them feel like they're another gender, which is completely wrong. And this is something being pushed on kids, cutting off their breast, castrating them, which really will lead to lifelong debilitating conditions, physical conditions, and mental illness. Hopefully not suicide, but unfortunately that is the case. Reproductive health care has been mentioned here. Even the term reproductive justice, which is really capital punishment for innocent babies. There's nothing reproductive about abortion. It's murder. But one thing I'd like to talk about right now is the Gallup poll that was done in May of 2023. 69% say transgender athletes should play on teams that match their birth gender or biological sex. But guess what? That's actually gone up because the left is losing the battle. Because in 2020, May of 2020, the exact same Gallup poll was done, and it was only 62% that agreed that transgender athletes should play on teams that match their birth gender or biological sex. So watching biological men dominating real women in sports is moving America's opinion to defend biological women and Title IX. This is a losing issue for Democrats because America fully agrees we have to protect women's sports. Ms. Goss-Graves, in 2013, the National Women's Law Center tweeted, "What have sports meant to you or a girl you know?" Tweet it with the hashtag, and then you put the hashtag. You responded, "National Girls and Women in Sports Day, I'm grateful to tennis. It is my late night outlet that I still play 20 years after high school." Do you still play tennis, Ms. Goss-Graves?
Not well anymore. My knees struggle.
But it's a great sport, and it's always fun.
Yes, I've enjoyed playing.
And you mentioned that you're a fan of Serena Williams. Is that right?
I am. I'm a Williams sister fan. I'm a tennis fan. I'm actually a fan of most sports. I grew up playing sports and in a family that understood that there is so much value in playing sports, whether you're the best or not the best.
I agree with you. And I'm a fan of Serena Williams, too. I think she's strong, I think she's powerful, and I think she's beautiful. In 2013, Serena Williams stated, "If I were to play Andy Murray, I would lose 6-0 in 5 to 6 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. No, it's true. It's a completely different sport. The men are a lot faster and they serve harder, they hit harder. It's just a different game." So sounds like she doesn't think she could beat men either. But let's talk about some of your comments. You said that this is attacking and dehumanizing on trans. Ms. Goss Graves, how do you think Ms. Gaines felt? Do you think she felt dehumanized being forced to undress in front of men in her sports or attacked?
Here's what I think.
That's a
about
yes or no question.
But if I could
Being
answer
forced to
this
undress
question,
in front of a
Madam
man,
Chairman,
isn't that dehumanizing or
I could
attacking?
answer this question, Madam Chairman, because I actually think this is really, really important. The issue of privacy in locker rooms and in bathrooms, there's a wide range of
So
ways
you feel like
for
Ms. Gaines should have had
schools
privacy?
to address that. You could put up a curtain, you could put up a door, you could have rotations. There are
I
so
reclaim my
many
time,
ways
Ms. Goss Graves.
schools to
Ms.
address
Gaines,
that,
did you
and
feel
what I
attacked and dehumanized? Ms. Gaines, did you feel attacked and dehumanized?
I certainly did. And in swimming locker rooms, there are no curtains, there are no stalls, there are no doors.
But there could be curtains.
This is, I reclaim my time. It's Ms. Gaines right now.
That would be restructuring how I've competed in my entire 18 years of competing for what we've described in this hearing today as such a small percentage of the population. We would restructure and uproot what we're used to and what works and allows us to be. I think we can all agree a locker room in general is not a comfortable place, even of course in dressing in front of all women. But growing up a swimmer in that environment, again for 18 years of my life, you become comfortable being vulnerable in that environment. And my teammates and my competitors, we had our vulnerability stripped from us by the leaders of the NCAA, and again, those who implemented this policy.
Thank you, Ms. Gaines. I yield.
Thank you. The chair now recognizes Mr. Burchett for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chair Lady, and thank you for bringing this important.
First, let's talk facts. The Gallup polling data speaks volumes. In 2020, 62% of Americans believed athletes should compete based on their biological sex. By 2023, that number jumped to 69%. You know why? Because Americans are watching what's happening in real time. They're seeing biological males breaking records that female athletes worked their entire lives to achieve. They're seeing the unfairness with their own eyes, and no amount of political spin can change reality. Riley Gaines testified about her experience as a collegiate swimmer, forced to change in locker rooms with biological males. She described having her vulnerability and privacy stripped away by NCAA leadership. This isn't theoretical. This is a real woman who dedicated 18 years to her sport, only to have basic dignity and privacy taken from her. Where's the protection for her rights? The opposition argued this affects less than 1% of the population, so why focus on it? Here's why. Because principles matter. Because fairness in competition matters. Because protecting women's spaces matters regardless of how many people it affects. We don't abandon what's right just because it's inconvenient or affects a small number. They brought up privacy concerns about verification, suggesting it's invasive. But here's the thing. We've had sex-separated sports for over 50 years. Title IX was created specifically to give women equal opportunities in athletics. Biological sex isn't arbitrary. It's fundamental to fair competition. Male puberty provides significant physical advantages in strength, speed, and endurance that don't disappear. The hearing exposed the real hypocrisy here. One side claims to care about women while systematically dismantling every protection that makes women's sports possible. You can't champion women's athletics while simultaneously allowing biological males to compete against them. Serena Williams, one of the greatest female athletes ever, acknowledged she'd lose to a male professional in straight sets within minutes. Even elite female athletes recognize these biological realities. This isn't about diminishing anyone's humanity. It's about maintaining fair competition categories that allow female athletes to excel. The solution isn't complicated. Biological males compete in men's sports. Biological females compete in women's sports. We can have compassion for everyone while maintaining fair competitive standards. These aren't mutually exclusive positions. If you agree that we need to protect women's sports and restore common sense to athletics, drop a comment below and share this video. The silent majority is waking up, and it's time we stand together for fairness.